A very good early morning to all of you. This is going to be a long one. I will admit that. It is going to be a long one. Now, over the past 2 weeks or so, I've seen news of people advocating for a new Zelda game with Zelda as the main character. As in, you don't play as Link. Either Link is not in it or he's in it in some other form or fashion, but she is the character you play as throughout the game. No. I will simply say no. And before anyone who will see this video, I'll put a disclaimer. This is not me being feminist. Well, not feminist, but, sexist. Whatever. I'm not being sexist at all. Rather, I'm being logical here. I am I am completely open to not to change in the Zelda series. As long as it makes the games better. If it makes the games better, I don't care. As long as it's a good game still, no matter what. Which I'm sure it will because it's Nintendo. Because they also make good games. They know how to treat Zelda and Mario and all of those games. They know. The thing is, Zelda has been around for a bit more longer than 25 years. 25. In that time, the series has evolved a lot. And at the same time, it hasn't, in the way that pretty much the closest we've gotten to a playable Zelda is Spirit Tracks. I really enjoy the game, but it's not really playing as Zelda. You're playing as the Phantoms, which are the suits of armor, the suited enemies that you take control of. I don't know if there's an enemy inside we've never seen, but anyway, you take control of her and in the suit of armor. She's kind of like an item, but she's technically your partner in that game. She is that game's partner, with a more, just like a halfway role as a item of sorts, because you use her to get across certain areas, to get through certain obstacles that you can't get alone without using her to do that. So yes, that's the closest we've gotten to a playable Zelda, and it is kind of a nice lead-in, but we need more than that. We need more than that slight absolute technically playing as a Zelda. It's been 25 years. You can't just, at one point throw in a game with a playable Zelda as a part of the main series. You can't. It doesn't work. It doesn't. You might think so, but that is changing way too fast. Now, before I get to that, for some of you might be thinking, a main series game, that's all there is in Zelda. I would like to bring attention to freshly picked Tingle's Rosy Rupee Land. That's a hard name to say, but freshly picked Tingle's Rosy Rupee Land. It is like the only, well, that and Link's crossbow training, and technically the 3 CDI games, but I think most Zelda fans and Nintendo themselves just don't even count those as even existing for the most part. They ignore them. But yes, there is side games in the Zelda series. It's very uncommon. Happens very rarely. Very, very rarely. Which is probably a good thing. But Anyway, sorry about that. It's 3 a.m. here where I am. Uh, anyway, yes. I think if anything, if we were to do a full out, right now, Zelda game with Zelda being the character you play as, you do something with her in there, do something like Super Princess Peach, the side game of Mario where you play as the princess to save Mario, I think. I haven't played it, but I think you should go save Mario. Yeah, that she doesn't have to go save Link, but I just mean she could go do something like that, have a side game of her own to see what it's like, or at least just to have it there. I mean, no one really said where it has to be on the time, they just want to, and if it works out, in a main series game, if you're talking that, not yet. Just not yet. The game I would have to say is, okay, here's an example for you. Some of you might be thinking, change too fast, canon? I mean, you can't change something too fast. At least, not something like a video game. Here's pretty much 2 words that's going to prove that wrong. Xbox One. Xbox One. I'm sure now some you're going, where are you going with this? Xbox One was, before they changed all their policies, is essentially where consoles are likely going to be in the future. But that's the future. Not now. Not now. That will happen. But you can't just skip ahead 5, 10 years and be praying. You can't just skip all that time growing into it and hope and pray that it works out like it should, like you want it to. Because it's not going to. Just saying. There's nothing wrong with... They had some good points in the Xbox One. Even with before everything, but they also had their bad points. I'm not going to get into it because there's 5 billion other people who have. Yes, I'm exaggerating, but you know what I mean. There's just everyone on the internet covered it. I covered it elsewhere. I don't know if I'll ever actually get around to saying my opinion on something that practically every person on the internet has stated. Not that they stated my opinion exactly, but you get my point. What Xbox tried, it was too soon. What they should have done was just implement a few of the features. The 360 only had was only, generally entertainment oriented. Only, well, it was only slightly, had the basics of Netflix and all of that. Hulu had those basic add-ons. Had those basic channels of what you can do other than just playing games. The Xbox One had multiplied it significantly. Significantly. And they should have called it the Xbox Infinity or something else. I would say Xbox Infinity just because that's cool. But they should have called it that and then implemented a few of the features, not many, and none of the bad ones they were trying to come up with and try to pull. But just a few of the ones trying to implement them a little bit further in, make it different from the 360 still, and have it be a natural progression. Then the next generation, next generation, the one after the Xbox One, have the current Xbox One, have that be, should have had that one be the one that they really, just went out there. And that might have worked. Now who knows what's going to happen with all of that? I just don't. But anyway, yes, they moved too fast. Now to move back to the Zelda thing. It's been 25 years. I think it's been actually about 27 now, or right about 27 or so, I think. I think it was in 2011 when they celebrated their 25th. So yeah, it's about 27 now. Maybe not quite 27, but almost. Because it won't. I'm sure the first Zelda game came out in the fall, so it won't be quite 27. It'll be like 26 and a half. Anyway, so yeah, imagine that. You're going from playing as Link, the normal adventures, the normal thing you've done for 25 years. About, counting them, it's only the main story games, like 15 or 16 of them. And then suddenly they throw a main series. Kabam, you play as Zelda. Seriously. Think about it for a sec. It sounds like a good idea in theory, but not immediately. It would kind of backlash, I'm sure. I'm sure it'd still be good, but it'd just be too different. They need something to kind of flesh out how she would play. Which is why, if anything, if she became playable, have it be like in small sections. I don't mean, 5 minutes, you see her going out, just going through a few rooms, and then something happens, and voila. No, no, no. I mean full-blown, playing for, you play her for like half an hour, like about half an hour segment, about if you're experienced with it. Not, it might take you longer. And they honestly try to flesh it out, but most of the game is played as Link. They slip in those moments where it feels right, where it's not just like shoehorned in there, those moments where it switches, but it is done right. When switching. Then they handled Zelda very carefully in how you, in that segment you do, maybe like a stealth-like section, like a real stealth section where you have to avoid monsters, and if you don't, then you have to run away and hide and let them you have to wait, 3, 4, 5 minutes. Look at me, not 5 minutes, that's excessive, but like 3 minutes to allow them to stop searching. And you do that. Do something else with her. Don't do just stealth, obviously. You want to, allow her gameplay other than stealth to become available. But yes, that is how they should be able to, how they should do it if they ever did it. It is not the smartest plan to just dive headfirst. Microsoft learned that with the Xbox One. Other people have learned that. I can't think of examples off the top of my head, but the Xbox One is the first one. Oh, I suppose another example is the Nintendo Virtual Boy. The first attempt into 3D technology. It didn't work out so hot for, it didn't work out so hot. It didn't work out. It was like their singular system that technically failed. What are you gonna do? So, but you know what? They really kind of barreled past that, and they're still going on very strong. And that's pretty much what I'm saying. You need to flesh it out, the possibilities, and before even thinking of like a main series, full on hours upon hours of gameplay of Zelda. Not just going from hours upon hours of gameplay with Link to going to hours upon hours of Zelda. ta-da! That doesn't work. So yeah, that's my opinion on that. It's not me being sexist. It is nothing of that sort. Don't suggest I'm being sexist. I'm not. I'm being honestly realistic. That shouldn't happen yet. We need to ease into it and yeah, just simply ease into it. It would be interesting on what they would do, and it would depend on which Zelda it is, or if it's a new Zelda, and how she would play. But that is just something that I find interesting. Now, I think that's about all I'm going to mention. This video has gone on for quite a long time, my longest yet. And I think that, good night, ladies and gentlemen.